And you always must exercise good judgment. And if you don't have good judgment, why don't you stand the machines, you big sissy?
Why don't you stand on the machine, you big sissy, if you don't have judgment? Around the 2000s, the legendary kettlebell revolution happened. And from then on, it took the world of fitness almost by storm. Of course, CrossFit was also responsible for popularizing the kettlebell, but there's one man, and I want to mention two actually, who were responsible for the initial push that got the kettlebell back on the map. And that was Pavel Tsatsouline and John Duquesne. I've had a great podcast conversation with John Duquesne where I got a lot of insider information. And now, after being in the game for 10 years and 5 years focusing on the kettlebell niche, I have learned some insights. And in this video, I want to react to Pavel Tsatsouline's Enter the Kettlebell, because to almost everybody that I talk and have a conversation with, be it a client, a trainer, a friend in the kettlebell niche, almost everybody got in contact with Pavel when they took their first kettlebell swings. So we're gonna take a deep dive and see what Pavel has to say. Grüezi miteinander, Gregory von Lebe Stark here. If you're getting started with kettlebells and you're looking for reference work, you're looking for a guide, you're looking for something that can give you a shortcut to success, then I want to highly recommend my ebook. It's called the Kettlebell Code. It's 100% free, and you'll find it in the first link in the description. This is so iconic.
Enter the kettlebell.
The strength secret of the Soviet Superman. I love this. This is what's been stuck with so many people nowadays. They say, well, Pavel trained the Spetsnaz. And while he might have been a trainer in their facility, they clearly knew how to brand themselves. So John Duquesne was a direct marketing guy, and Pavel was a branding guy. So this is a match made in heaven. What these guys put together is exactly a masterclass on how to put yourself on the map. Now, Pavel nowadays completely went away from this shtick. He doesn't even call himself a kettlebell expert anymore. He also used to call himself a master of sport, which is very dubious. We don't know if it's real or not. But this is the essence. This is marketing. It's well done.
Comrade, the kettlebell has been instrumental in weeding out weakness out of the Russian gene pool. And now you're next. You are on the Soviet territory, and you are becoming a better man. If you don't know how, I'll teach you. If you don't want to,
I'll make you. This is real. How to make your hips, back, and shoulders speak with Russian body language. This is so real. And there's so much value in this video, but the way it's delivered makes you want to consume more of it. He could have just do it completely vanilla style in a idea of, you know, I'm delivering you the best value. How to make your hips and backs and shoulders strong. No. How to make them speak with Russian body language. And it attracted so many people. I think also the people that I talked to back from, for example, Sean Mosen from Canada, he said, he actually saw through the marketing, but he was still attracted to it. So they've done well. It's a job well done.
Comrade, before training with a kettlebell, you got to be able to pick one up safely. So here's the sumo kettlebell deadlift. The drill is, keep your feet wider than your shoulders, toes slightly turned out. Your heels must be planted, your knees pointing in the same direction as your toes. And sit back rather than either dip down or bend over. So sit back like you're sitting in a chair.
He's pointing out two very important things. A lot of people, when they think about squatting, and this is rather, I would consider this rather a squat variation of a deadlift, which is not wrong, not an issue. But so many people think they have to squat or initiate even a deadlift from the knees when it actually happens with the hips. And he weeds out 2 mistakes right from the get-go, and he has clear communication, clear, precise cues. This is so awesome. This is powerful, very valuable. And that is, don't hunch over and don't push forward with the knees. So a lot of people, they bend the spine when they think they have the deadlift, or they shift the knees forward. So awesome cues. The way I do it is just I push the hips back. I don't push the knees out unless I'm squatting. The knees are a little bit more extended, not as bent as in this case, but that's just a minor deviation. And by the way, this is very important for you if you're watching this. I'm giving you my experience, my feedback. I'm not telling you now how to do it yourself. This is just my complete raw reaction. I haven't planned it. I have no script. I'm just reacting to what Pavel's saying and how I would apply it in my training nowadays.
Look straight ahead. The back must stay straight, not to be confused with vertical, just straight.
Awesome.
And your head
Such a great
must
cue.
not be down either.
Yes, it stays straight, not vertical, because many people think when they have to push the hips back, upper body leans forward, that the upper body stays upright like this, which it does if you're doing a Olympic style squat that we do, or a goblet squat. But in this case, I love it. Such a great cue.
Comrade, if your skill or flexibility is lacking in the deadlift, the face-to-wall squat will fix it. If you stand right here and you start squatting, and if you either round your lower back or dip your head and round your upper back, you literally not be able to go down. So the wall will face you to push your chest out, to keep your head up, to lift up your tail, and you go down.
And that's what I would consider a squat. I think it's a great cue to improve your body weight squat, not a deadlift per se. A deadlift is where the upper body pushes forward, you hinge back, and then of course you are touching the wall if you would do it like this. It's a perfect squat test, which Steve Carter, the late great Steve Carter, my sensei, he made it do. Angie and I had to do it as well in a certification. I never do this, neither with my clients nor with anybody else, but I see where it comes from. But at the end of the day, this is also so important. So many people squat and hinge differently because of different biomechanics. So they have longer limbs or shorter limbs, longer torso, shorter torso, long arms, short arms. So this also influences the way how you move and how you execute the movement and the exercise.
And you come up nice and slow, nice and controlled. Now this is very important that you don't frog your knees. What does that mean? This kind of stuff, this is cheating.
Frog your knees.
The feet must be flat, completely flat, slightly turned out and flat. So, stay tight, use your strength to get down. You may only be able to get down an inch or two, no problem. Then if you succeeded getting lower, stand closer to the wall.
Olympic weightlifters even say when you squat, you fall. You drop into the bottom of the squat and then you explode back up. It's also a way of doing a body weight squat or a squat in general. What he's teaching you is just a pure strength squat. It's a slow grind, right? This is where the grinds come from, the exercises where there's no momentum, no dropping, no power, no explosive, just raw, pure strength and force. Super impressive, by the way.
You may even pick up the kettlebell from here later, just to try if you can deadlift properly. See? There we go.
Almost fell. Love it. Again, this is a squat. I would consider this a squat, not a deadlift. But that's, it's semantics. It's a little bit, it's not on an issue where we say, oh, this is heresy, right? It's just, this is rather a bodyweight squat. Or a goblet squat. This is the perfect way, actually, how you can teach an Olympic squat or a goblet squat where you keep the kettlebell in front of you.
Squat will teach you the hard way. Let's make sure you lock out your deadlift properly as well. On the top of the deadlift, there must be a straight line through your whole body. From your legs, through your hips, through your head. Your head should not be sticking out, your butt shouldn't be sticking out, your knees should not be sticking out. Just a straight line.
Full extension, yeah.
Anything less is not the proper lockout.
100%. Oftentimes happens when people come up from the deadlift, the hip is still slightly tilted backwards because it just takes time for your body to connect the dots. The first thing that happens is when you start strength training as a beginner with the kettlebell or anything else, is your brain starts recruiting dormant fibers first. And imagine like your brain is looking for these fibers all around. And so as your brain is looking for these fibers to wake up, they wake up like, what we have to do? And so it looks a little bit funny, it looks hard. And then your brain is very focused and you start sweating because it's not even the weight. It's just the movement itself because you have to put the pieces together. Your brain has to put the pieces together. And then when you stand back up, sometimes they have glute amnesia. A lot of people, because we sit on our butts all day, we have glute amnesia. That's why when we stand up, we don't understand the lockout position because we can't fully contract the glutes, the hips, and lock it tight. But this can be solved quickly and instantaneously.
Comrade, here's the generalization for you. Americans, when they walk forward, they fall forward and catch themselves. Russians, they proudly lead with their bellies. You know, the belly shows up first around the corner, then the rest of the Russian shows up. So whatever cultural reasons, Russians' backs and hip flexors are loose, and Americans are tight. And we're here to fix it.
And this differentiation between the Russians and the Americans, for example, Mark Ripito, I think, that's one of the reasons why he hates kettlebells and why he doesn't like Pavel, because it's the political thing that got involved into this whole thing. When at the end of the day, I don't really care where you're from, who you are, what you do. If you're from the left, the right, the north, the south, if you have skill and you have something that I can learn and that is valuable, I do not care at all. If you are my worst enemy, if I can learn something from you, I want to keep an open mind and then listen and apply.
Assume this position. Straighten out your arms. Get your shoulders feet slightly wider than your shoulders. And do this. And then do this. You see, right here, we're stretching your hips. Keep your elbows locked. Squeeze the glutes. And now, start loosening up the hips. Loosening them up.
Awesome drills.
Keep your elbows locked. Look up. And push back to stretch your shoulders. When you're pushing back, make sure you don't let your feet collapse.
This is powerful, and it really opens up your chest. The frontal area where a lot of people are tight, this is a powerful exercise that we do as well. A little bit of a variation. But when people sit on a desk all day, we have our hands here all the time. And now if we do this, that's why people have issues with lockout overhead. Then this opens up this whole area. I think Pavel coined this. He said you have to release the brakes on the muscles. And that's exactly, I use this too. Or he said something different. And I say, when we get started, the first thing that we have to do is to get rid of those brakes that are on your muscles before we get started with any type of resistance training. Because if we do resistance training before breaking or loosening up the muscles, we are causing trouble. It's like driving down a street with potholes. It's possible, but it's risky and something might break.
A little springy movement. And forward again. Stretch.
Even the setup, the military setup is so powerful.
An excellent stretch to do every day.
Just adds to the
throughout the day.
Adds to the military vibe.
Because you got to be able to bring your arms overhead, right here, close to your head, and you got to lock out with your hips forward, your knees locked, and the pump stretch will get you there. Comrade, the halo will loosen up your shoulders. To protect your back, keep your glutes very tight. Start making circles around your head, and eventually try to make these circles tighter.
I'm realizing that I have kind of a physique like Pavel here. This is for me the ideal body. The way Pavel looked, I really have to say this and give him credit for it. And I have a slender physique like him to a certain extent. And I love it. It's like, I used to have this issue, which probably many of you had this too, when we come from the typical bodybuilding realm, and then we think muscle is everything. But at the end of the day, who's one of the most revered martial artists or one of the most revered athletes in our history is Bruce Lee. And look at Bruce Lee's physique. The physique. Guy was lean and shredded. And this is where I see myself. And this is where I see kettlebells. Of course, depending on what you do. The kettlebell is a piece of iron. So if you can definitely build muscle. But this is, to me, the ideal physique. And now I'm realizing that I look a little bit like Pavel in his younger days. Love it. And hey, if you're wondering what type of kettlebell I'm using, it's the Pro Kettlebell. The best kettlebell I've ever used. You can grab yours with 10% off using code Lebe Stark at checkout. Distribution in Europe is coming soon, so sign up for the waiting list. All links are in the description.
Work in both directions. Try not to lean back. Just loosen up that shoulder girdle of yours. Because you're tight, and I'll fix it.
Because you're tight, and I'll fix it. Fixing your body is tight. I never do the halo. It just never clicked with me. It might also be that I already have good mobility overhead and I don't have issues with the upper body. I had it when I got started with kettlebells, but the kettlebell itself, the weight, because I've learned it the proper way and put in thousands and thousands of reps, it really elevated my mobility to a level where I never had to do the halo anyway for a mobility exercise. That's why it doesn't click with me and I never do it. But, you know, if you vibe with it, it's fine. Kettlebell Safety 101, it's your fault. It's your issue, comrade.
Comrade, swinging an iron bowl overhead can be dangerous to your health, and any moron should understand that. Let's go over some safety points. Number 1, check with a doctor first, a special orthopedist and a cardiologist. Kettlebell training can be exceptionally intense. Number 2,
and yeah, please check that everything's fine. But, you know, good sense. Don't be stupid, right? Even if you're the most conditioned person on planet Earth, if you don't have no morbidities or diseases that completely prevent you from moving and training, I think strength training or resistance training and kettlebell training is awesome. And yes, it can be intense, but you never start there. So this is kind of like the persona, the vibe where I get a little bit lost because we work with people the most deconditioned over 50s, over 60s that never touched weights in their life and it works fine. Of course, it takes time. If you never moved or never trained in your life and now you start training after 40, 50 years, of course, there's a lot of foundational movements that we have to do and it might take longer than somebody else who was moving all along. But at the end of the day, it's all about progression, right? Beginners, advanced, professionals. It's a game of levels.
Be aware of your surroundings. Train on a surface that is flat and where you can drop the kettlebell without worrying about
100%.
it. Make sure your line of fire is clear. If the kettlebell slips out of your hand, in the worst case scenario, it's not going to hit anybody.
Never happened. Never happened. Happened once. I've been doing this for 6 years. Happened once to one of our clients that she let the kettlebell slip and it dropped into the wall online. But that was once in thousands and thousands of sessions. So this happens like almost never, once in a blue moon. And if you do the kettlebell swing properly or cleaning, snatching properly, the kettlebell doesn't fly on a horizontal plane. It flies upwards, vertical, because the ground reaction forces from the kettlebell vertically are almost 80%. So never think about, I want to push the kettlebell forward, but think about pushing the kettlebell upward. And of course, use chalk. And I'm not saying that this is a bad advice. It's just never happened in our case.
Training with ladies' rubberized kettlebells. Make sure they're not going to bounce on the surface you're training on. And always be aware where the sun is. Be aware. Number
What? Be aware where the sun is.
3, wear authorized.
Maybe because when you know where the sun is, you don't want to get blinded by it. So it's just like, oh, and you hit the kettlebell or your pet or whatever. I train outdoors all the time. I don't care where the sun is. But hey, it's fine.
Shoes or go barefoot.
Yeah, go barefoot.
Comrade, any fancy sneakers with cushion are plain bad news for you. So either go barefoot or wear shoes that are almost no shoes, such as wrestling shoes, Chuck Taylor's Converse. Number 4, never contest the space with a kettlebell. If the kettlebell wants to fall, get out of the way, clear out, if the kettlebell wants to go this way, don't fight it. Let it go. And always remember that quick feet are happy feet.
And that the kettlebell always wins.
Comrade, practice all safety measures at all times, even with very light kettlebells. Because under stress, we revert to training, and we need to train to do it properly. Ask yourself the question, would I be willing to do this with a 106-pound kettlebell? And if the answer is no, then don't do that. Mentally, always stay with the set until you've released the kettlebell. Let's say you've done your set of swings or snatches and then you just relax and slump and set the kettlebell down and get hurt. That's really stupid. Lower the kettlebell as if you're planning to do another rep. Then set the bell down. Only then may you relax.
Such a good point. You don't have to overemphasize this, but this happens so often with beginners. They do the set and then 10, drop the bell, park the bell. They're like, they drop like a bag of rice, as I always say. And I wholeheartedly agree with this point. So you drop the kettlebell and drop it safely. You don't have to go full tension mode or everything, especially if you're completely tired after doing a double set work with heavy bells, unbroken. Then drop the kettlebell safely. There's a way to safely drop it without overexerting yourself. And this is exactly the point that Pavel's trying to make is you don't want to slump over and then hurt. Imagine it drops on your knees or on your feet, or you pull something, especially if you're a little bit older because you're not careful. And then it happens when the set is over, like, man. When you seriously injure yourself, it should happen during training. You should get pretty messed up. And then somebody tells what happened. And you walk around in the cast, you say, it was the kettlebell. I tried a 48 kg press and it dropped on my elbow.
Number 6, keep moving when your heart rate is high. When you've done a really hard set of swings or snatches, don't just plop on the ground and suck wind. Keep moving. Walk, jog, shadow box. It's going to make it easier on your heart.
Keep the blood flowing 100%. This is one of the recommendations from the OG, the almighty, powerful Georg, the Russian line Hackenschmidt. Back in the days when he was training with Dr. Krajewski, they almost had no clothes on. They said, no clothes is perfect because it allows for perfect perspiration. And then keep walking as you finish your set because it's great for the blood flow. I do this all the time. I almost never stand still unless I have to sit down unless I had a very tough, intense set.
Number 7, build up your training load gradually and use common sense. What does it mean? Let's say you're practicing cleans and you start to bang your forearms up. It would be stupid to do so many cleans that get you all bruised up. Do a few cleans every day until you get better and better. While you're at it, practice other exercises to get your conditioning. Do your swings, for instance. Build up your load gradually. Even if the workout says do so many reps and so many sets, you must listen to your body. Number 8,
yes, sir.
Instruction cannot cover all the contingencies, and you always must exercise good judgment. And if you don't have good judgment, why don't you stand the machines, you big sissy?
Why don't you stand on the machine, you big sissy, if you don't have judgment? By the way, that's also from the book that I read. It's called Primal Branding. Forgive me, I forgot the author. He said one of the key points of a very successful brand or a successful business is they always have a nemesis. And in this case, the nemesis was the bodybuilder, the machine type dude, the person who always sits down and pushes and pulls levers. Very simple and monotonous, stupid movements. And it even till this day, it's like it's kettlebells versus bodybuilding versus machines. And I just say, from my point of view, just taking away the complete marketing stuff and, cutting through the BS. I think just kettlebells give you so much bang for your buck, touches almost all powerful qualities of the human body, such as power, strength, endurance, explosiveness, longevity, mobility, flexibility. All these beautiful aspects that the human body or these human qualities you can express them. The kettlebell touches on almost all of them when you pick it up for a spin every time. And so there's a lot of bang for your buck. Of course, it doesn't perfectly specialized in one particular area, but it touches everything. So that's why I always say the kettlebell is the best, not the best tool, but the best generalist tool. That's why I say the kettlebell is the king of GPP. Machines are fine too, right? If you had an injury, you're coming back from a severe accident, and maybe you have to do certain movements in your therapeutic journey to get back on your feet, and you need strength movements, but only isolated. Machines are great, or for bodybuilding, or just, you know, pumping out some chest or lat pull. It's many of us come from that world. But now when we get a little bit older, I just see there's just more bang for the buck for the time that I invest into training with kettlebells. Enter the courage corner.
Comrade, start with the right kettlebell. An average gentleman should start with a 35-pounder. It doesn't sound like a lot, but trust me.
16 kg.
Kettlebell.
Yep. 16 kg. We even say it's a 27-pound, 12 kg for men. And for women, it's 8 kg or 17 pound.
It's live. It's a lot heavier than it should be. An average lady should start with an 18-pounder. What's average? Well, using the bench press is a misguided but popular test of strength. If you bench press less than 200 pounds, and you're a gentleman, start with a 35-pounder. If you bench more, start with a 44. If you're very, very strong, you're a power lifter, start with a 53. For ladies, but again, typical ladies start with 18. Stronger than average lady, start with a 26. If you have the means, get 3 kettlebells. The one that I just recommended, and 2 heavier ones as well.
It's a good point. You know, 3 kettlebells, we say this too. The way we practice kettlebell training is, for many people, they can only use 1 kettlebell and then do everything with it. This is what gives it so much bang for your buck. And once you really get the hang of it, you enjoy it, because first you have to find out, do I like it? Do I even enjoy it? Is this something that I want to continue doing? And once you see the enjoyment and the results, because they come instantly, almost instantaneous, when you do the proper sequence that we always recommend, make sure you mobilize the body first by loosening up the brakes, learn the basics, and then put in the work. And then, yes, we also say for the ladies, my recommendation, I'm giving you the kgs here. You have to think in pounds as well. So it's 8 kg for women to get started, 10 kg, and then 12 kg. So these are 3 kettlebells that you can really invest into. If you're a little bit stronger, it's probably going to be 8, 12, and 14. But the 2 kg increments, we have seen it just works well for ladies. And for the gentlemen, for the men, I would say, yes, 12 kg gets started, then it's a 16, then it's 20, and then it's 24. And anything beyond 24 goes into, I would always say, advanced and professional territory. Of course, you can deadlift and swing a 32 kg kettlebell, but the idea of kettlebell training, at least the way we do it and the way we promote it, it is a training for the whole body. It's a holistic approach so that every muscle gets involved. It's very intuitive. The body responds intuitively to training. And so it's not just your typical, okay, I have to do 10 reps with a lighter weight for this, and heavier weights for the squat, and even heavier weights for the deadlift. While you can train like this, the kettlebell just gives you so much more quality of training when you, for example, use the unbroken method. All right, and this ends part 1. I'm realizing I'm giving so much comments and so much feedback that if I do the full video, it's probably a 90-minute video, which is way too long. So I want to chop it up. We now get into the movement of things. So I'm going to upload the next reaction in a couple of days from now. If you really enjoy it, please give me a like, give me a thumbs up, and say, Gregory, I want to see that other stuff. I want to see you react to Pavel's full Enter the Kettlebell, because I'm going to do it. I see that I also learn a lot of stuff from him as well. And even though people sometimes say this when they watch my content, or when they hear that I'm a little bit critical of anybody else, and by the way, I'm the strongest critic of myself, then they think, well, Gregory, you're disrespecting people. But please understand this. We can respect people and still disagree in certain terms. This doesn't mean that I have an issue with the person. It just means I see it differently. And then maybe we can come together and have a great discussion to push us closer to the truth. So here's the next thing that you have to do. Clean and press the like and subscribe button. Share with a friend who's interested in kettlebells, and then download that free ebook. It's called the Kettlebell Code. You're going to love it. With Enter the Kettlebell, Pavel just started a revolution. And now if you say, Gregory, you know what? I want to take it to the next step. And you've heard me talk about these 3 phases: loosening up the brakes, then mastering the fundamentals, and then putting in the work. Everything is detailed in my ebook. It's called The Kettlebell Code, 100% free, in the first link in the description.